back. My name is Will. We're here today with E-Bike of Colorado to talk a little bit about the iZip Sumo. So, if you have never been on a fat tire bike, they're called that for a very specific reason. They have huge tires. Now, this one has 26 by 4s, so that's a ton. They do come in bigger sizes on different bikes, but for the iZip Sumo that we're reviewing today, we're going to talk about 26-inch rim by 4-inch tire. There are definitely some benefits to a 4-inch tire. I don't know if you've ever ridden around on a snowy day or on a wet day with wet leaves around, but your chance to slip are a lot greater if you have skinnier tires. A fat tire bike tends to chew up sand, snow, loose gravel, wet terrain really well because you have so much more surface area touching the ground when you're riding it. One of the other benefits of a fat tire bike is going to be that they are a more buoyant tire, giving you a suspension where you don't have it. So having a bigger tire will offer you a little bit more of a cushioned ride than a 26-inch thinner tire like a 2 or a 3. I definitely thoroughly enjoy riding around on fat tire bikes. They handle a little bit different. There's a little bit of resistance when you turn, but you can kind of lean into your turns a little bit more because it's sort of the barrier between motorcycle tire meets bicycle tire. Definitely a little bit easier and more affordable than a motorcycle tire, so a lot of fun to be had. I think they did a really good job with the graphics on the iZip Sumo. You have this awesome camo with iZip hidden in there in a few spots. You have little orange accents on your really nice sand colored sort of, this is Desert Storm, I'm gonna call it. The orange accents really offset the iZip logo and bring a little color into it, a little bit of excitement in your life, something for the people living on the edge of life, living on the wild side. This bike is definitely going to be performance style bike. It is on the spectrum of Bosch's motors. It's lower spec, so 50 Newton meters, plenty of power to help get you out there. It's going to offer you an opportunity to go further or make that ride a lot easier. So whenever we're talking about Bosch and we bring up torque, there are different levels of the Bosch motor. This Bosch motor is the Bosch Active Line Plus, giving you 50 Newton meters of torque. That means that you're kind of in the entry level of Bosch's motors, but you have plenty of power to help you out. This isn't the best of what Bosch has out there, but you're certainly gonna get a lot of support when riding. And now what that means, that support's gonna come in one way. So with the Bosch motor, you're only gonna have pedal assistance, and pedal assistance is activated by pedaling. So you will pedal the bike and it will sense your pedaling and it will apply power in a range of how much the motor can do. So to explain that range a little bit further, when talking about the power and what Bosch can do, you turn the display, this Purion display on, and it reads miles per hour, your middle display which says off, and then battery power. And so when you see your display options, you can add a little bit of the power, and that means now I have about 25% of what the motor is capable of in eco. If I want a little bit more assistance, I'm going to go up to touring. That's about 50% of the motor's capability. One step up from touring is going to be sport. Again, we're another 25 step up from the last one. That's going to be 75% of the motor's power. And then in turbo, you're going to be getting everything this motor can give you. You're going to get full torque from that Bosch Active Line Plus motor, making your riding a lot easier. Whenever you're going to be going up a hill, you want to crank down, knock that shifter down to a nice low gear, make it really easy to pedal up that hill, and bump it up to turbo. You're going to be flying up that hill, passing by people with the big smile on your face, and they're going to be going, what the is this guy doing now? Tire girl, depending on who's riding. So, again, key features of this bike are going to be that it is a mid-drive. That's one of the things that makes it more like a regular bicycle. It's going to have big fat tires. Those 26x4s are going to give you a comfortable ride that will handle any condition. And you don't have to have any concern with the size of these tires because this bike has a motor on it. It's going to be around 300 times easier to ride this bike just because of the extra power from that Bosch Activeline Plus motor. You want stopping power on a big bike like this because of the weight and because of the size of the wheels, and you're gonna get that with these hydraulic disc brakes from Tektro. They're gonna make your stopping quality, consistent, and hopefully quiet. That's definitely important. You don't wanna go screaming by people with some loud, cheap brakes. I would suggest when investing in a bike, making sure that it has quality components. The main components that I look at on a bike are going to be what gear set does it have. That's going to include your shifter and everything else that's going to make you accelerate up or down hills easier. It's going to include your disc brakes, whether they're mechanical or hydraulic. I prefer hydraulic. They just function better, have a longer life, more consistent pull, and are actually easier to activate the brake than on a mechanical disc brake, or even a mechanical rim brake if we're going back to that older technology. Couple things that I would do to this bike if I was going to get it that it doesn't already have, because we want to make a bike perfect. We've seen really cool conversions of this bike with some front Renegades. So Renegade is just an air fork. Like I said before, this bike doesn't have any suspension at all, and if you wanted to make this bike ride better, then I would suggest considering adding some sort of air or spring fork to the front, a suspension seat post for some support and a softer ride, some mud guards in the front so you at very least don't splash snow, mud, water up into your face while you're riding, and potentially a rack for the back there so that you can haul all your stuff. If you use this as a daily commuter, if you use this as a grocery store, food receiver, any of those options, you would be better off to add a couple things to it. The capability of this bike is also designed so that you can have a rack in the front as well as a rack in the rear. I'd suggest considering one of those options because you're going to be riding this bike a lot. You're going to want to bring your things where you're going, and it's going to be a lot easier if you're not wearing a backpack all the time. I'd just like to say thank you for joining us today as our review of the iZip Sumo is coming to a close here. If you have any interest in hearing more about it, check the number behind us, check down at the bottom of the screen, click on the link to our website, leave some comments in the bottom and let us know what you think.